Oh, hello again. I've got my little family of Grodnertal Dutch dolls here beside me, which I've made with wood straight from a tree, showing green woodworking techniques. And today I'm going to be painting them. Now I'm going to try and paint them true to the original Dutch doll style, and that's keeping the paint very simple, very basic. So here are a couple of antique dolls I've shown you before, pictures I've got, and you can see there that the heads are done with black hair. They have rosy cheeks, very small features on the face, and then the lower arm, legs are painted white, and sometimes they have red or black shoes on them. So I'll try and follow the traditional way as well. The idea with these dolls was that they were bought very cheaply, and then usually little girls, I guess, would make outfits for them. So they'd make nice dresses and what have you. So you didn't really need to paint the body or the arms, tops of the arms, the tops of the legs, because they'd all be hidden. And so the painting was kept very simple. I'm going to have a go, as I say, just replicating that paint style. So we'll get underway. Okay, so to start this painting process of what I'm doing, I'm painting the head. I'm painting sort of like the tops of the shoulders, and then the lower arms each side, and I'm painting the lower legs. And at the moment I'm just giving this like a cream sort of base colour. This is acrylic paint that I'm using. Goes on the wood quite happily. I think the wood is probably fairly dry by now. I think a gouache would be quite a nice paint, not that I'm greatly into art. I think also a milk paint finish could be quite nice as well. Of course, what you can do is put like a silk varnish on top if you want to. So that's like a first priming coat in effect really on the main areas. I've gone over a little bit with a bit of sandpaper just to try and get rid of some of the more obvious sort of blemishes and what have you, but end of the day these were always painted quite crudely and quite quickly, so I'm not going to agonise, if you like, too much on how great the painting is, which actually suits me as I'm not the best painter on the planet, but there you are. Just pop the next coat on, so it's some white paint on the legs and on the arms, and I'm going to paint on some little boots next, so, or shoes I should say really, and the traditional colour was either black or red, so I think I'll probably do a couple with some black and a couple with some red. So there you are, a couple of little shoes on this one. While the shoes are drying, I've just been trying to draw in the face, and it seems with a lot of them they have the eyes virtually level with the top of the nose, and the hairline, the hair's black, but a lot of them they seem to have like a grey underlayer at the front and then going jet black around at the back. So I'm going to try and replicate this grey underlayer first and then go over it with the black. So here's on the reference picture. You can see what I mean by, perhaps I look at the other one actually, come over, there's that grey underneath the hair at the front. The expression's all very slightly different. It gets painted over with the black, so I think something like that. I'll try and give it a bit more of a defined line, so a bit more water on my brush. Yeah, I decided while this paint was still wet it would be a good idea to just rub it off slightly. So I'm using a bit of rag, and I'm just trying to make this hair on the front a little bit more translucenty. So I've just been looking at museum examples to try and get an idea of what they look like. Obviously some of these would be quite a bit different, but a lot of them seem to follow a very standard form. I think there was probably some standardization of design that I even got an oblique reference at one point, around about 1822. There was some act or something passed somewhere and it wasn't referenced properly, so I couldn't follow this up, but saying these are the standards for these dolls, because I think the standards were going down. So I've just been giving this one a bit of the black hair treatment, and I've got it down, right down at the back, which is what it seems to be, sort of just above the collar. Bit of a masculine cut really. So that's the first coat on. I feel like I have this little army coming towards me. So I'm just starting to paint up the eyes. So the eyes seem to have a fairly distinctive lighter blue colour to act like a sort of background in the eye there. So I'm going to do the light blue, and then it's like some black goes on top. But I'll make sure that blue is actually quite nice and solid in colour. They all seem to have a mouth, and it's a fairly straight line, but with some of them they sort of give the effect of some sort of pursed lips. So it's a fairly delicate little straight line, but then like a little ball almost in the middle. It's not particularly smiling either. It's quite simply sort of done. Whoops. Like that. A bit longer. Coming out like a swish. So that's the lips. And that seems again pretty standard across all of the dolls. So slowly building up the facial characters. They're very simple. I mean, everything's been done. So it is literally a brush stroke here, a brush stroke there. Continuing with their eyes, they seem to have black pupils and then little curved squiggles going sort of through and above. Not quite so intense, if anything. So I'm just doing a very fine little measured line, trying to make it a little bit of curve, and then even fainter above it, another little curve, following a sort of curve of an eye type eyebrow line. There we are. Oh, interesting, my camera is actually picking that up as a face. So I've got something vaguely right. I'm slightly surprised by that. Be grateful for small things. So yeah, that's coming along. Some of them seem to have nostrils, not all of them. And sometimes the nostrils aren't on the nose, but slightly to one side of it. But I'm going to give all of these little tiny nostrils, even if it's just a little tiny bit of colouring dots going in. The cheeks seem to be a very light, like wash of colour. Nothing much at all, and I'm just wondering if I can do it by splodging with a rag a bit. Well, it's not a total disaster, I don't think it's quite right. I'm rapidly coming to the conclusion of these cheeks, they actually just used a finger with a tiny bit of paint pigment on it, because I'm going over again with the creamy colour and just trying to sort of neutralise them off a little bit, and it's working reasonably well. So I reckon that cream colour was literally applied with just gently dabbing like a finger on it, not much more than that. Well, here they all are finished off. I quite enjoyed that. Somehow they suddenly come to life once you get a bit of paint on them. So it's quite a fun project, and I mean, these are tiny items, but it just shows what you can do with green woodworking. I mean, these dolls were a log just over a fortnight ago, and now they're, well, dolls. I know it's a slightly weird project, but it shows you a bit of pole lathe turning, shows you how you can use the shrinkage on the wood to get nice tight joints, the pins there, and well, just a bit of fun really, something a bit different. So I've enjoyed researching them as well, seeing how they were done. I don't think this will be my last little foray into this particular kind of doll. I think the folk history of it's quite interesting. I'd like to know even more. So if anyone knows more, please pop it in the comments below. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and if you haven't subscribed and you want to see what comes up next, please do. Great to have you coming along. Okay then, bye bye, thanks, and bye bye from my Grodnertal Doll family. Wave dolls.